Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Okay, okay. 1 second. Okay, let's start. As you know, we have the reading section which comes first in our test usually. Okay, in your TOEFL IBD test, which is your real test when you go to the test center, your reading section will be the first section that you will get. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
now the passages will be 700 words long approximately. These are not the exact number, but of course, it will be approximately 700 words long. You have 36 minutes for the whole section, reading section. Over there, you will get two passages. Okay, and two passages will have 10 questions each. Understood? Overall, you have 20 questions. For each passage, you get 11 points. Now, 11 plus 11, you get 22 points. Those 22 points are converted to the scale of 30. Now, as I said over here, overall, you have 36 minutes. Approximately, you should spend 13 minutes with each passage, I would say 13 to 14 minutes while practicing, because in the real test you might get a little harder questions, and that's where you will spend a lot of time, right? It will consume your time basically, because you'll have to look for your answers, you have to cross check your answers. That is the reason it becomes important that you be rigid, you be strict over here with yourself, so that in the real test you get some time extra. Along with that, of course, it's usually suggested, I usually suggest my students that do not skip any questions, do all the questions, okay, because you do not have any kind of negative marking over here. But one more thing that becomes important over here is, if you feel that any question is taking time for you, in each passage, you can do back and forth in the questions, but only in that passage. Once you finish those 10 questions and you go to the next passage, you can't come to the previous passage again. That's what you have to be that's what you have to be sure about. So in the same passage, you can do back and forth. If you feel that, okay, I want to finish the vocabulary types of questions first, then I want to finish factual information questions, then I want to go to the prose summary question, that is something that you can do. You can do that back and forth. You have the review option also over there. Once you finish your passage in say 13 14 minutes, 1 minute you should take to make sure that you have answered all the questions. First thing. Second thing, to make sure that you have answered all of them correctly. You should take 1 or 2 minutes for that. You should review your answers basically. That's what I usually suggest. Okay, before going to the next passage. Once you go to the next passage, same drill. Do your passage in 13 14 minutes, and then just review your answers. You should be done with reading in 30-32 minutes. Okay, it shouldn't take more than that. Now, you might ask me, you might have this question, should I read the whole passage in the first go?
Yes.
Okay, that's a usual question that all the students have. I would say yes. You have to read the passage in the first go before you start answering the questions. But when I say read, you do not have to read for details. Remember, we did reading for skimming and scanning,
Yes.
reading skills. So in the first go, you just have to skim and scan through the passage so you know what information has been given in the passage. Of course, the title will give you the information to what it is about. Once you know what it is about, it should give you a basic idea. You should locate where your keywords are so that you know what the overall gist of the passage is. Now, I would say you should finish this reading in 1 or 2 minutes. You shouldn't take one more than 1 or 2 minutes to read it in the first go, because when you're looking for questions, you have to read it again. There is no easy way out of it, correct? That's where you have to read for details. Correct? So
Right.
don't spend a lot of time in the first reading. That's my usual suggestion. Now, another questions that students have, or you might have, is it necessary for me to read the passage in the first go? Can I directly start attempting the questions? I would say no. You can't directly start attempting the questions. That won't be helpful. Till the time you know what the passage is about, you won't be able to answer the questions. Now, this has been tried and tested by one of my students, and he only gave me the feedback, ma'am, that does not help, so I'm not going to use that strategy. Okay, he wanted to try it out. He tried it out, and that strategy did not work for him, so he only gave me the feedback. Okay, that reading at first is important, then only you can start attempting the questions. But yes, the first reading should be a faster one. We can't spend 5 to 6 minutes in the first reading. If we spend 5 to 6 minutes in the first reading, we get very less time in answering the questions. Okay? That's what is to be understood over here. Any other questions that you have?
No.
Okay. Now, of course, in reading, you will get various types of passages that you might, have. For example, we have already looked at the types of questions, like one type of passage, that is historical passage, when we did the reading lesson
Right.
1. Correct? That is the type of passage you might get. Now, some of them might be just classifications, some might be passages which are trying to compare and contrast the information, some might be passages which are trying to tell you about the cause and effect of something or problem and solution of something. Okay? Now, you have 9 types of questions over here. The first one is factual information, then you have negative factual information, vocabulary, reference, sentence simplification, inference, rhetorical, insert text, and prose summary. These are your question types. Now, of course, we are going to look at them one by one, but understand how many times they come in a passage. Your factual information will only come 2 or 5 times out of. Now we are talking about per set. Per set means each passage. Okay. Yeah, you will get 10 questions in each passage. तो उसमें से 2 questions हो सकते हैं factual information के. ठीक है? You might get more also sometimes, but usually we can only see 2. Okay, we don't see more than that. Then negative factual information question. Sometimes you might not get any, or sometimes you might get 2 also. Okay, vocabulary question, you will always get 1. Sometimes you might get 2. Reference questions, sometimes there could be none, sometimes there could be 1. Sentence simplification, again, there could be none or 1. Reference question, insert text, rhetorical purpose question. You might get 1 or 2. Insert text हमेशा आता ही है. Prose summary हमेशा आता ही है. Insert text question is always at number 9. Prose summary question is always at number 10. Okay? Now we are going to look at them. All the other questions they will shuffle. Okay? You might just get a vocabulary question first. Sometimes you might just get a factual information question first. So it could vary. Okay. Now first one is factual information question. As the question type says, here we are just talking about facts. Facts which have been given in your passage directly. They have been mentioned explicitly over there. But will they be given in the same wordings? No. They will be paraphrased, they will be rephrased. So that's where your synonyms and antonyms become very, very crucial over here. Okay. Now the questions will look something like this. According to paragraph dash dash dash, which of the following is true about dash dash? Okay. According to paragraph 10, why decline because so and so. So that's how you will get, and of course you will get 4 options. You have to choose one option. All of the reading questions are MCQ questions except your prose summary and your insert text. Okay, insert text is a little bit different. It's kind of MCQ we can say, but it's a little different. Prose summary you get 6 options. We'll look at that. Don't worry. Okay. Now, of course, when you're doing your factual information question, it's very important for you that you refer to your passage again to make sure that the option that you have selected is 100% correct. Okay. Again, all the options will look similar, so go with the best option. Okay. Another thing, yeah, do not select an option just because you think that it is mentioned in the passage. Understand the question. It should answer that specific question. Okay. Of
Okay.
course, an example has been given over here. Try doing this example for homework. Okay. All the examples, try doing them for homework. Next, you have negative factual information question. Now, this is just opposite of factual information. कि negative, कोई चीज दी हुई नहीं है. You don't have the fact given in the passage. Now, this is very tricky, but if you understand it, then it's very easy. This type of question is asking you to find out something which is not mentioned in the passage. So, four options are given, three options, three things are given in the passage. One thing is not given in the passage. The words will be explicitly mentioned, but of course, they will be paraphrased and rephrased. That's where you have to understand the question over here and understand the options and then answer them accordingly. Okay, the question will always have words like not and except in all caps. That is the reason you have to read the question properly. Once you understand the question, then you will be able to answer it. This question type takes a little extra time. So that's where you will take a little extra time. You will make sure that the option that you're selecting is clearly not mentioned in the passage. Paraphrase करके infer करके भी नहीं mention किया हुआ है. And that is how you will select it. Okay, and of course you will cross check it once more. Basically, you will cross check it two times. Okay, understood? Yep. Okay, try this passage quickly.
Ma'am, D.
B,
D.
D for dog. Okay, are you sure?
Yes.
Yes, it's correct answer. You understood how to answer it, correct?
Right. Right.
Very good. Now, the easiest one in the reading passage, that is your vocabulary question. Vocabulary question, as I have told you before, over here, the reading passage, the reading paragraph is most of the times highlighted whenever you are doing the reading question type. Along with that, even the paragraph number is given over there, which paragraph the question is being asked from. That is why this test becomes easier for you. You don't have to keep searching in the whole passage from where the question has been given. Okay. Now, when you're doing your vocabulary question, the word that has been used in the question is also highlighted. Okay. So it becomes easy for you. You just have to read the sentence. You don't even have to read the whole paragraph. Now, over here, one important thing becomes is we have to understand in which context that word is being used. Now, most of the times what happens is in English, we have one word which has various meanings. According to context, the meaning will change. And sometimes if you get say some difficult word or word which you are not really aware of, you are looking at it first time, that's when you get confused. Understand the context in which it is being used. Once you understand the context in which it is being used, the option becomes easier for you. Okay. Another thing that you can do is when you select an option, try to insert that option which you are selecting as the replacement of the word which has been given and read the sentence and see if it makes sense. This should give you the sure shot answer over here. Okay. Now, this question is the easiest and you should finish it the fastest. Why? Because here you get only four words which you have to read. You just have to read the sentence, the question, the sentence, and the four options. So you should finish this question in 30 seconds. It shouldn't take more than that. Okay? Because this is the easiest one. Now, Again, the words which are given, they are not very, very difficult. The words are very easy. Even if you don't know the exact meaning of it, by looking at the context in which it is being used, you should be able to gauge it. By looking at the
Ma'am, your voice.
now is it audible?
Yes.
Okay, there was some network issue. I lost the network in between. Sorry for that. Okay, one second. Okay, am I audible clearly now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So now you are saying, even if we don't know the exact meaning of the word locomotion, we know the meaning of motion. Motion means कोई चीज की movement दिखा है. So that's how we should be able to understand that. Okay, option B is the answer. Evolution नहीं होगा, survival नहीं होगा, escape नहीं होगा, because motion is the word that we can highlight over here. So even if we don't know the exact meaning of locomotion, we know we are talking about movement. You will try to insert that word. For some animals, movement is accomplished by changes in body shape. Correct?
So we have to check the terminology like behind the words or while finding out the answers.
Not really. Try to understand the way it is being used, I would say.
Oh.
Okay? You don't need to know the exact meaning. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't need to know the exact meaning. But you should know कि किस way में उसको use किया गया है sentence में. Okay? Because sometimes the words could have different meanings. So you should know in which context it is being used. Understood?
Okay. Yes.
Next, you have reference question. Now, reference question is a little confusing one. Why a little confusing one? Say in your question, one part will be highlighted. Okay?
Right.
And here you will be asked question by using a relative pronoun. Relative pronoun क्या होता है? The pronouns that we use to relate basically to the subject. Okay? For example, the word it, word which, whom, all these become whose. These become your relative pronouns. This, that, ये भी हो जाते हैं आपके. So you have to understand which subject it is referring to. Once you understand which subject it is referring to in the sentence, it becomes easier for you. Now, when I say this, it sounds easier, but when you try doing it, it's not very, very easy. Okay? Now, over here, we have to make sure again that what option we are selecting, that option is 100% correct. And of course, we can try cross-checking in the same way by inserting that word as a replacement for the word which has been highlighted over there. And that should give you the context. Read this quickly and then I will tell you how. Even if you read the sentence, you should understand, but if you want, you can read the passage, not a problem.
Postal service.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because distribution cannot have a network of 65 offices. Again, your sale cannot have a network of 65 offices. Newspapers don't have offices, newspapers have printing presses. Correct?
Okay.
So that should narrow down the option to postal service. And of course, if you understand the context also over here, it becomes easier. But कभी कभी नहीं समझ में आया, so this is also how you will try to make sense out of it. Okay? Understood? Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you can try doing this one for homework. Next one you have is the sentence simplification question. What do we mean by sentence simplification question? Here, a sentence will be highlighted and you will be given four options. Out of these four options, you have to select, of course, one option, okay, which will be correct. Now, the sentence which has been highlighted, it will be simplified and given to you. Okay. Now, when you select the option, you have to make sure that the option that you're selecting has all the essential information from the original sentence. Highlight sentence. Okay. It is not, it is paraphrasing, but सारे sentences, सारे options, they look the same. Okay. Now, the tricky part over here is, the way I said, you have to make sure that all the options, all the essential information from the original sentence has been given in the option that you're selecting. The option that you're selecting does not misrepresent or distort the information in the highlighted sentence. Okay? Or it does not leave out any important information. That's what we have to make sure. And at the end, it should not contradict the information given in the whole passage also, or in the whole paragraph also. These 3 points you have to be sure about. This question is very easy if you have understood it, but if you have not understood it, it becomes a pain for us. Okay? That's why we have to understand. Try doing this quickly. Read the passage. This sentence has been highlighted. This is how it will be highlighted in your actual examination also. Okay?
Okay. No, can I see the question?
Yes, sure. 1 second. Just 1 second. Okay? Yep. And the question will always look like this. Okay?
Okay.
The question does not change.
A.
A?
Yes.
Correct. Only choice A makes the same point as the highlighted sentence and includes all the essential information. Okay, understood?
Yes.
Yes. As I told you, once you understand it, it's easy. If you don't understand it, then you never understand it. That becomes the problem. Great. Now, next is inference question. Now, inference question is again a little tricky one. Why a tricky one? Again, we have to understand what the author over here is trying to say. What is he trying to imply? What can we infer from the passage? Okay. Now, inference is something that we do not say directly. We want the other person to understand. Example, uh, when our moms say कि सारा काम मुझे ही करना पड़ता है. What is she trying to say over here?
That you should also do some work.
Yeah, like you should also. Yeah, she needs help basically, correct?
Yes.
But is she directly saying that? No, correct. So we have to infer that. So same way we have to understand the inference question, that the author has mentioned something. We have to infer something from it and we have to answer. Okay. Now, sometimes or most of the times we can say the questions will be opposite of something which has been given. For example, if I say she almost always comes to office on time. What can we infer from this?
She function.
Okay, but if I say that you have to infer something opposite of it, then what will you infer?
Opposite of it. Like she's not late.
I said she almost always comes on time.
Okay. So like we have to convert this into the negative one, or
Try negative one.
uh,
She is late sometimes, right?
she is late sometimes. Yeah.
Huh. That is the negative, or that is the opposite of it we can take out, correct? So that's what we have to understand. Same way, if I say He owns most of the land in the village. What
He
can we?
owns some of the land.
He doesn't own some of the land.
Oh.
He doesn't own. I said he owns most of the land.
The negative one.
Ha. So you will say that he does not own some part of the land, correct, in the village.
Right.
So that is what you will infer from this. Okay. So usually ये अगर समझ गए ना तो हमारे लिए थोड़ा सा easy हो जाता है समझना inference based question. Okay. Now again, the way I said, the information that we are trying to find from the option or from the question will not be given explicitly. We have to infer it. We have to understand it implicitly. Okay. Now the questions would look something like this. Which of the following about? Paragraph 1 suggests which of the following about. The author of the passage implies that. What can be inferred from? Which of the following can be inferred from? That is how your question will look. Your question will always have the words imply, infer, ऐसे करके. Okay, here you understand you have to look for something which is not mentioned directly in the passage. Now, of course, you will try to make sure that your your option does not contradict the whole passage. First thing, do not choose an answer just because you think it is true or it is given in the passage. You have to understand what it is trying to infer. And if asked, you should be able to defend your answer, which is very, very important. Okay? Let's try doing this one.
See.
See, they were not available to everyone.
Yes.
Correct? Very good. That's the correct answer. That is something that we can infer because it is mentioned over here that it made lighting available to all. And what can be inferred from the passage about candles before 19th century. So when we read the word before 19th century, we know our sentence is somewhere over here because यहाँ पर हम क्या बोल रहे हैं early to mid 19th century. So that helps us to locate कि okay, our information that we are trying to look for is over here, but it is not given directly. It's something that we have to find the meaning of. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Now, next one that you have is a rhetorical purpose question. Now, rhetorical purpose question is trying to find the why of why basically the author has mentioned something in the passage. Okay, that's what the rhetoric purpose of it is basically. Now, your question would look like the author discusses this in paragraph 2 in order to. तो किस लिए उसने वो passage में mention किया है? That's what we have to understand. Why does the author mention this? Why does the author compare this to this? Correct? That's how we will see it. Now your options will mostly include the words like to illustrate, to explain, to contrast, to refute, to criticize. So we should know the exact meaning of these words. It becomes very, very important for us. Okay, once we know the meaning of these words, it becomes helpful for us to answer the questions. Now, rhetorical purpose question, they usually do not ask you about the overall organization of the reading passage. They will focus on the logical explanation of the paragraph or the sentences that they are trying to highlight over here. Okay? Again, read through the paragraph quickly over here.
Done.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. Now try answering the question.
A.
A.
Yes.
That is correct. Very good. You understood it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now you have the question number 9, which is insert text question. It is the type 8 of the question types. Now over here you will be given one sentence which you have to make sure that goes in the paragraph. Okay, this is what your screen would look like on the examination day, and this is how you would be given the option to insert the sentence. The sentence will be given over here. Okay, you have to look, you have to read through it, and you have to make sure where it goes through. You will click it accordingly. For example, यहाँ पर जाएगा ऐसा लगता है तो you will click here. If you feel it goes here, then you click here. If you feel it goes here, then you will click here. Okay. Of course, when you insert the sentence, it shouldn't change the meaning of the paragraph. It should not change the meaning of the whole passage also. Okay. Now, the words, like on the other hand, for example, on the contrary, as a result, furthermore, therefore, in other words, all these words become helpful for us. That is how we understand the placement of it. Example, if you look over here, we already know that whenever a paragraph is given, a paragraph will usually start with an idea. It will have a topic sentence. Correct? If you have a sentence which has been given which tells us the overall gist of that paragraph, we understand that okay, it will be in the first sentence. Correct? If we see the words like therefore, in conclusion, in summary, we understand that this will be the last sentence of the paragraph because we use it to conclude. Correct? If we see the words, for example, the word like this, to add, in addition, furthermore, we understand that this will go in between somewhere. Correct? So that is the reason these kind of words become helpful for us whenever they come in this kind of sentences. That's where we understand the correct placement of it. Again, the way I told you, it should not change the meaning of the whole passage, it should not change the meaning of the whole paragraph also. Okay? Now let's try doing this question. Again, just the way I told you about the vocabulary word, that you will try inserting the word and read the sentence. Once you insert the sentence, you will try reading the previous sentence and the after sentence after this sentence, which wherever you include it, and it should make sense.
A.
A?
A.
Okay, why? Why do you think A?
Ma'am, because this cannot be come after. Like this cannot be used in consecutively two sentences.
Exactly. So B भी नहीं आएगा, C भी नहीं आएगा. We
Yes.
clearly understand that. It does not fit over here also. We can clearly see that it goes only in the place of A. That's what gives us the answer. Very good. Okay? You understood it. Now the last question type, but a very important question type, which can make or break our reading test. Okay? Because यहाँ पर हमारा ये गलत हो गया, हमारे directly 2 points चले जाते हैं. एंड अगर एक भी गलत हुआ तो भी हमारा 1 पॉइंट मैटर करता है यहाँ पर. दैट इज द रीजन दिस क्वेश्चन टाइप बिकम्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. नाउ दिस इज द प्रोज समरी क्वेश्चन. दिस इज आस्किंग यू द gist of the whole passage. For this question particularly, you need to know the whole passage. That's why you have to make sure at the start that you have read through it. And of course, when you are answering the question, you read it the second time, so it becomes helpful for you to do this question. आपने passage अभी तक 2 बार read करके हो चुका होता है till the time you come to this question. Okay, so you should know the overall gist of the passage. Now, as I told you, this question will have 6 options. Okay, here one sentence will have been given to you already. Okay, you have to select 3 correct options over here. If you select 3 correct options, then you get 2 points. If you select 2 correct options and 1 incorrect, of course you will select 3 because negative marking नहीं है तो हमें कोई छोड़ना नहीं है. So you will select 3, but only if 2 are correct and only 1 is incorrect, then you get only 1 point over here. And if only 1 is correct and 2 are incorrect, then you get 0 points over here. That is the reason you have to make sure that all 3 answers over here are correct that you are selecting. Right. Now, the trick over here is that whenever you read, of course, you will pay attention and you will make sure that the options you select are accordingly. But your first sentence, which has been given over here, should help you to understand what the passage is exactly trying to talk about. Of course, you will understand it from the heading also, from reading the passage also, but still, this sentence becomes more helpful for us over here. Now, whenever you select the options, you have to make sure, like almost always, hamesha nahi, but almost always, the options which are correct will talk about the general topic or the general idea in the passage. It will not talk about one particular incident or one particular person's experience or one particular example as such. अगर वो option है तो almost always that option is incorrect. Just because it is mentioned in the passage, you should not select that option. Okay, you will stick to the overall idea, overall things which are being mentioned in the passage. Okay, I will give you 3 minutes. Try doing this question. I would ask you to refer to the guide at your side because it's a longer passage that you have to read over here. So I'm sure you have the TOEFL guide open at your side. Right? So go to page number 67 of the PDF and read through the passage and try answering this question. Okay. Were you able to answer? Were you able to answer the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Options
A and C, but I'm confused between E and F.
E and F.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Which do you feel is the best option?
Ma'am, I'm confused, ma'am. Actually, they are asking the differences.
Okay. So option
But
F is the correct one.
F.
In all periods, fine artists tend to challenge the physical limitation of their materials. If you see the last paragraph of the passage, it presents a further consequence of the basic contrast between the applied art objects and fine art objects. This is the difference between the attitude, correct? So, a good summary basically will include this contrast. Now, if you observe the way I told you, this is just a general example which has been given.
Yes.
So this doesn't go as an option. Now, most of the times, even D also, it's just an example which has been given. Most of the times, it will not be a correct response. Most of the times. Every time, ये नहीं होता है. Sometimes you might just have the examples only, and that's when you will get confused. But most of the times, this sentence should be able to help you. And then again, the tip that I told you, this should be helpful. Okay? Understood?
Yes.
And that's your reading question types. Now for homework, you will read through the whole passage. You will make sure you do the example questions also, which we skipped in the class. You will try to do them for homework and read through the whole chapter along with the tips and tricks which have been given over here, the strategies which have been given over here. And if you have any questions or any doubts, you can ask me, not a problem. Okay? Any questions, anything that you did not understand?
No.
It's pretty easy if you understand the question types. The question types help us to understand what we have to do. Sometimes it gets confusing.
When options are similar.
Yep. It does get confusing, but that's where we have to, sometimes what we have to do is we have to look back at the passage and just try sometimes कि okay, ये question अगर open-ended होता, if I don't have an MCQ, how would I answer it? And then almost always you will get the answer, and that should take you to the best option. Okay? That's what becomes helpful sometimes. Clear? Okay. Now for homework, do the reading practice set 1. Okay? Which is from your TOEFL guide itself. Do the reading practice set 1 and try to answer the questions which have been given over there. Okay? Okay, we'll stop over here for today then. We will continue tomorrow. Today evening we have that session. Don't forget that. Okay, it's at 7:30.
Today is 4, no?
Yes, 4th.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes.
But ma'am,
you guys have to join the meet.
Like we have to use Chrome. Like actually we use Safari too. It's not possible.
Acha, nahi. Today the session that we have. Today the session that we have, it's on Google Meet. Okay. कल का जो आशा के साथ में जो सेशन था वो Microsoft Teams पे था because they don't have access to Google Meet and all. They have only access to Teams. But today the session that we are doing, it's on Google Meet. You guys have to join the same link. Okay. Yes, and of course, if you have any questions, you can prepare and ask the questions at the end also. Okay. Yes. Okay, then we'll stop over here. We will continue. Chalo, no problem. See you.